Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jim Hodson. We're here at the Fun With Aviation Museum, home to the most touchable warbirds in Texas. It is September 12th, 2020, and we're going to get an update today on the YF-16 restoration. So with that in mind, we've got Kevin here with us. Kevin, tell everybody who you are again.
I'm Kevin Renshaw. I'm a retired engineer from GD/Lockheed Martin for 40 years, and now I'm helping work on restoring the YF-16.
Okay, so it's been, I think it's been about a month since we talked about the airplane and we showed people what was going on before. What's been happening in the last month? I saw we've got stuff that looks like railroad tracks down here and all kinds of things. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what's going on?
Okay, one of the things that the lab did when they were using this as a test model is the YF-16 is 10 inches shorter than a production airplane, and they wanted to make it act like a production airplane on their test. So they unmated the forward fuselage and added 10 inches of filler sheet metal work. What we're doing is trying to undo that task. In order to do that, we need to pick up the forward fuselage, not drop it, and disconnect it from the rest of the airplane, slide it forward, take out all the phony sheet metal work, slide everything back and put all the fasteners back and put it back in one piece.
Okay, show us where that seam is.
All right. This was the manufacturing joint between the mid fuselage and the aft fuselage. You can see right in here, in fact, Jim can get around, you can see all the way through the airplane at this
point.
point.
Sure can, yeah.
We've taken the sheet metal work out of the inlet duct because it wasn't doing anything other than being in the way. You'll see a piece down here that's kind of galvanized steel.
Yeah.
It's not really aircraft quality stuff. It doesn't have any primer on it. That's going to come out, and you can see that's 10 inches too long. They also added some filler longerons here and down there. And then this bay up top here, this was the emergency power unit bay. This side of body panel up here is 10 inches longer. The real one is behind it and is the correct length.
Oh, okay. So the original's all still here.
The original pieces are still in there.
Okay.
They're just covered by these add-on pieces they did.
So you're not having to make new pieces.
We hope we don't have to make too many new pieces.
Okay.
What we're going to do is, if Jim can show you these tracks down here, we've been setting up this track system. We're going to build supports off that will pick up the forward fuselage in 3 places, and then we'll be able to roll it along here. So this is some heavyweight steel work. We're going way overkill on this.
Okay.
The steel work is, each of these wheels could hold 1,000 pounds, which is the weight of this whole front end here.
All right, so we're way over on that.
Right.
So,
These
but
are the
that's
kind
good.
of wheels we'd use on a hangar door.
So you've got three sets of tracks.
Wheels. We're going to have cross members that'll pick up some wooden frames that'll grab the nose landing gear mount under the forward fuselage and back here at the back.
Okay.
That way.
So you're going to have some kind of a structure underneath this for the fuselage to rest on.
Right. They call it cribbing.
Okay.
We're going to pick it up with the cribbing and support it, and we've got adjustment features built into the tracks. So when we slide it back in place, if we're off 30 thousandths, we'll just turn a couple of screws, bring it up 30 thousandths. All the holes are still here. It's nice that they use the original holes to put their phony sheet metal work together. Okay. So we got to unbolt what they did, and then everything should line up again.
Well, we got Darren from Taiwan again. Hi, good to see you. You guys are going to a lot of effort here, and a lot of engineering. I know I've been watching this process going on here for the last few weeks. Why is it so important that we do all of this?
We want to get the airplane back to how it looked in its glory days, about 1975 during the lightweight fighter fly-off.
Okay.
This is YF number 2. This is an airplane that did a lot of the work on demonstrating the capabilities of the F-16. This is the one that had a gun in it.
Okay.
This had fully operational wing pylons, so it did all the weapons drops. It had more of the systems and things that were represented. Airplane number 1 basically proved the airplane would fly, and how well the pilots liked the fly-by-wire and everything. Okay,
but why couldn't you just be over here with a forklift and hold the front up and then just put it back?
You could, but there's just too much risk in that. We want to get this done right and put it back together as cleanly as possible.
Okay.
Theoretically, when we put everything back together, all those skins should line up within about 40 thousandths of each other. That was kind of the manufacturing tolerance the airplane
Okay, that's
started.
a real fine tolerance. What's 40? Well, how thick is
40 thousandths, about 10 sheets of paper stacked together.
Okay, okay.
That would be a good kind of thing. So we're going to get that all put back together. You can see how close some of the seams are here on pieces they didn't take apart.
Oh,
So
okay.
when this joint here comes back to here, it's going to made up like that again. In fact, you can see where we've marked a 253 splice. Fuselage station 253.
Okay.
That's in inches. This part will go back in here. This bay down here was the part of the environmental control system. The bay on top here was the emergency power unit. In the middle here was the ammo drum that we showed you in a
Yeah, we
previous
showed the
talk.
ammo drum last the
That
last
was
one.
mounted
Yeah.
in there. The gun was on the other side opposite this. This bay here was electronics.
Okay. And we've had some pictures early on with some people in there.
Right, we were using that to reach into the cockpit to work on the canopy latches. And we're also getting a new nose made. That's a separate project from picking up this part and getting the 10-inch splice out. So we're getting a new nose and radome made out of fiberglass to replace the one that was destroyed on its last landing.
Okay, well, good, because I know people are going to ask, why is it so important that we go to all of this effort to just take that piece out, take those few pieces out, and then put it back together again? And it's because we want to make sure we don't damage this.
Right. We want to make sure this airplane is historically accurate. We're taking our time, we're doing it careful, we're building all this tooling to make sure we do it right.
Okay.
This is kind of how we would do it in the field on repairing a real airplane that had to fly again.
Oh, okay.
There's existing tooling. If we were doing a real F-16 for the Air Force, they would supply us with the tooling from the factory.
Okay.
We don't have access to all of the factory stuff. We do have helicopters flying by.
Yeah, so OH-58. I know you've got some of the rest of the crew here. Let's go around to the other side and you can introduce some of them.
Well, they're in the shade over there. Let me get them waved over here. Here we go.
Oh, we got a couple here.
This is Rick Ostreicher. He's been with us from the beginning of this project. He's got long family history that goes with this. His dad was the last pilot to fly this airplane before it was retired and sent to the test lab.
That's very cool, yeah. And I see Bill ran away.
Yeah, Bill took off. Yeah. So you can see the big steel tooling in the middle there is where they supported it on a test pylon up at the labs at Rome.
Right, okay.
We'll eventually get that. Once we get the front end reattached at the correct length, we're going to bring in a big crane, pick this airplane up, put it on jack stands like this yellow one all the way around.
Okay.
And we're working to get landing gear back from the boneyard to put it all back on its own feet.
And how's that process going? I can see that people can probably see the gun port up there too, because you mentioned the gun.
The gun port on this side. The open bay behind it is where the breech of the gun was. We've got the canopy blocked open, so we don't have to fight the latches every time we want to get in there.
Tell me a little bit about the landing gear issue.
Well, the landing gear for this airplane was taken off by the lab 40 years ago, 1980, and basically thrown away. They didn't need it because it was a one-off lightweight landing gear. We want to get the airplane up on its gear. We've got permission from the Air Force Museum, who actually officially still owns the airplane.
Right, yes.
We've got permission to go deal with the boneyard out at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, which is where all the retired F-16s are. And what we're looking to do is get an early model Block 5 F-16, get the landing gear out of it, and we need some other pieces. We don't have a refuel receptacle on this airplane currently.
Okay.
We need some engine mount parts.
Let's go back to block a second.
Yes.
That word comes up a lot, and I'm sure there's people who are watching that don't understand what the block anything means.
Okay. You can think of block numbers for airplanes kind of like model years for cars.
Okay.
Block 5 was the first block of F-16s. It was very similar to this prototype, had just the kind of starter kit of avionics and mission systems. As things went on in time, they added more systems to the airplane. When they got to about Block 30, they put the lantern pods on the inlet, Block 30, Block 40.
Okay.
Also, the airplane weight came up because there were more boxes in it.
Okay.
We added more fuel.
But they still used models like A, B, C, D.
Right. A and B told you if it was a single seat or a two-seat.
Okay.
So all the A's are single seat,
Okay.
all the B's are two-seat. When they made enough changes about Block 30, they went from A's and B's to C's and D's. Now that also said that what had happened, the airplane structure had been beefed up.
Okay.
The airplane had gotten heavier. At Block 40, the wheels got bigger.
Okay.
As the airplane got heavier, there's a rolling series of changes. We kind of jokingly say the airplane gained a pound every day for the 30 years of service.
Well, let's introduce some of your other folks over here. We can just go ahead and whoops.
We got Steve Smith, who's a longtime flight line mechanic and airplane builder from GD.
Okay.
He was part of actually working on the F-16 XL. He's maintained and modified airplanes all over the world. Jim Duarte.
Hey, Jim.
Another of our guys that's out here every week with us, taking this thing apart and putting things back together. There's several more guys that aren't here today, but we've got a good crew of people. During this time of masks and things, we've been doing our best to stay healthy.
We've been doing okay. We've got a nice little crew here, but let's just ask these guys a few questions. Rick,
yeah.
Why are you out here? I mean, this one is obvious with you, but why are you here?
I don't know. It's kind of a labor of love for me. This is sort of my tribute to my dad more than anything, because this is, he died about 5 years ago, and this is just, kind of a tribute to everybody that worked on this. I mean,
Okay.
This is, talk about one of those on the shoulders of giants things.
Yeah.
This sort of supported Fort Worth, so it's a worthy project, and it's our legacy.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Jim, how about you?
Yeah, I'm involved. I'm retired from American Airlines. So
Oh, are you? Okay.
In aviation, and one of the other guys working on the project got me involved in this, and it's just preserving a piece of history, and it's a privilege to do it.
What'd you do with American?
I was in director of catering operations.
Oh, were you? Okay, so this is a lot different.
This is a lot different.
This is a lot different. So good. So what are you learning out of this? Have you ever done anything like this before?
No, I do a lot of the mechanical things, but not an aircraft.
Okay.
So
this is all different for you.
it's different, yes.
So what are you gaining out of this? What do you?
It's just a privilege, and again, to help preserve a piece of history like this is a unique opportunity.
Okay.
And it's a bunch of great guys, so it's a lot of fun.
Good. Smitty.
Yeah, hi, Steve Smith. 32 years at Lockheed, and this fed me for 32 years or more, and then the F-111. So this is just, like everybody else saying, just a pure history of Fort Worth and the west side here. I saw this thing, came home when I was in the Navy, saw this thing in a jig in the main factory in 1974, I think it was, and little did I know 40 some odd years later we'd be touching it and tearing it apart, putting it back in original configuration. And it's been a blast. It's fun. Love airplanes, so this is just right up the alley part of hobby.
Well, you said fun. What's the fun part of this for you?
It's just a big model.
Okay.
It's an airplane.
Well, I watch you guys, and we've got Bill Morris over there hiding back by the trees, but that's okay. We've had Bill on here before, but I listen to you guys, and you've got your engineering hats on, and you're trying to figure out how to best do this. And the thing that I'm most impressed with is you guys are all very much concerned about how this airplane goes back together again and how it works. I mean, with some of the airplanes out here, restoration is not quite as detailed or as important. Maybe we can say that with this, but this is a very unique piece, and you guys have all just kind of really joined in on that.
Yes,
so.
and it has been. And like I said, I saw this in '74 sitting in the factory when I was still in the service. So, like I said, it's just a big airplane model to me. But
Yeah.
I love working airplanes, and it's fun. It's what I've done all my life is mod and restoration work.
Well, you guys have jumped in on this one. We got a good day for it here today. So,
It's been great.
Kevin, let's show them some of the other detail over here that you guys are doing.
All right. These are the cross rails here, and you can see these screw fittings. That's how we're going to be able to raise and lower the supports that we're going to build on top of this.
Okay, on these smaller ones here?
Yeah, these cross rails right here.
Okay.
These are waiting to be welded to the cross things here. We're still anchoring the rails here.
Okay, and
So
so these are going to be perpendicular to the others.
Perpendicular, and then there'll be wooden, a lot of 2x6s.
So that's the whole truss is going to move together then. It's
all
not going to be
come together.
individually moving.
It's going to look like
Okay.
a piece of bridge work that's
Okay,
rolling back
cool.
and forth. We only have to bring it forward about 2 feet so we can get in between the sections, take out the parts that don't belong there anymore.
Okay.
And then we've got to do a lot of corrosion control. One of the things we found with this airplane, if we can go back
Sure.
this way without tripping over ourselves.
It's always a good idea.
Yeah. If you look at the top up there, you see the rust color?
Let's see.
At the very top of that round section at the back there.
Oh, okay, okay.
The problem was part of the testing for this airplane, they had it upside down on a pole.
Right.
Another set of mounts. And these bays are watertight, so it rained from the bottom. It filled those bays, and the water.
Oh,
sat
you
in
can see
there.
it on some of the
Yeah,
the
you can see a lot
fasteners
of
in there.
screws are all rusty. We got to get those out because over time the rusted
You
steel.
can really see them in here.
Here's that plate there. Yeah, that's the one that's going to come out.
The big plate back here.
The big silver plate is going to come out. and
Okay.
this line of holes right here belongs right here.
Ah, okay.
So once we take these pieces out and these pieces, take that silver plate out, this bulkhead will fit up on this line of fasteners right here. But we got to get all those rusted fasteners out. So this airplane was full of water. They didn't let it drain properly. And so that it's just a lot of corrosion.
Well, yeah, you can absolutely see the difference here. The ones are corroded here. We get back in here into the other part of the interior structure, and we're not seeing any rust.
Right. The green paint you see is an epoxy-based zinc chromate that's really good at preventing corrosion. The aluminum rivets and things don't corrode the same way as these untreated steel nuts and bolts they put it together with. They really weren't concerned about longevity. This thing was never going to fly again, so they kind of took shortcuts. So we're going to undo that, and we've got to stop all that corrosion.
Okay.
It gave us fits taking these top panels off, because with the airplane upside down, the nuts on the inside of this just turned to little wads of rust.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah,
so were you having to cut them off?
We actually had to drill from the outside to drill the heads
so drill
off
them
the
out.
screws.
Okay. Okay.
And then those are nut plates that are fastened to the bulkheads with small rivets. We're going to take those out because they've got a rusted up bolt in them, like along here.
Right.
We're going to take those out and install new nut plates.
So it's not going to just be simply slide it back together and bolt it up.
No, it'll be a little more than that. We're going to have this airplane on display for another 40 years after we finish working on it.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that it holds up for people 40 years from now to see, and that we don't have to take it apart every 5 years. After we get it put back together, you can see the old paint job showing through a number of places.
Well, I know, we can see there's some blue up here.
Yeah, this airplane had a couple of different paint jobs. When it first rolled out of the factory, it had this air superiority sky blue on it.
Yeah.
Kind of a sky blue and cloud paint job. And then over the top of that in places, the most famous paint job was the red, white, and blue paint job.
Right.
The whole fuselage was white. There was a blue stripe down the backbone, and the wings were red, and the tails were red. That's really where we're going to go back to that. That's the flight test paint job.
Okay.
That's the most famous one, and that's what the airplane ought to look like.
Yes. Yeah, most of the pictures we see very little in the blue and white, although it's a cool paint scheme.
Yeah, that was somebody's idea in the Air Force, and it only lasted about 2 months, and they said,
Is that how long it was?
It's really
okay.
not a great camouflage job. It's not fooling anyone.
So what are we going to do about all these holes? We got a series of 5 holes here.
Yeah, these holes were not in the original. What these were is the part of the test this airplane did was they added the electronic countermeasure antennas that are on some of the export airplanes and some of the late model airplanes to test how effective they were. And what they were using this airplane model on the pole was they had the wings and they had all the regular stores and fuel tanks and things, and they wanted to see how far around the antennas could see before they ran into something. What were the blind spots?
Yeah, because we can see where this had the conformals on the airplane
it had the
too.
conformal tanks on there, so they tested everything in the inventory on this airplane at one time or other. We're going to fill these holes. We're going to cut sheet metal that's the right curvature. We'll put they call it a diamond dollar patch. We'll put an internal patch on there, and then one that fits right in here to fill all these holes. And then we use a little bit. We try not to use Bondo on airplanes.
Yeah.
It absorbs water and cracks, and the paint falls off. We're going to make these as tight as we can. We'll use the regular sealants that we use on real airplanes.
Good.
We're trying to do this like it's a real airplane, not just a display model, because that's going to last longer.
Well, and the hope is that this, it's not a hope, but it's a long-term plan that this airplane is going to be displayed indoors.
Yes.
It's not going to be another one of the outdoor airplanes. I mean, we have plans we're going to start to talk about soon about doing an expansion here. It's not going to include hangar space yet. But all of this stuff, especially this one, this will be a centerpiece. And I was really glad to hear you may want to add to some of this that we finally heard this week that there's, it looks like we may be able to find some landing gear for the airplane.
Yes.
So, and I know that's something we've been working long and hard on, and the Air Force Museum kind of rogered up this week and got us connected with some people. So it's all good. It's all going to be good. So we're up against our time limit here. So Kevin, once again, I'd like to thank you for spending some time with us today. I'm not seeing any questions, but that may be because of a fat finger that I had here. But at any rate, ask your questions once it's up online, and we'll answer them the best we can.
Yep.
And we will probably update you again in about another month. So for now, from the Fort Worth Aviation Museum, home of the most touchable warbirds in Texas. We'd like to thank you for tuning in. We are open Saturdays, both inside and outside, and so we welcome that. This week coming up is North Texas Giving Day, so we're going to ask you to keep us in your thoughts, and we're going to promote that a little bit. And we've also got a brand new online gift shop, and you'll see an announcement about that soon, so that a lot of the F-16 items that we've got, the pins and patches that are helping with this restoration, are going to be available to everybody. So, Kevin, thanks again.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for listening.
Okay, bye-bye.